and welcome to yet another episode of Money Matters. Well, Money Matters is, of course, an interactive show that aims to educate our viewers on money-related matters. If you have a money-related matter that you would like advice on, please do not hesitate to contact us and perhaps we may be able to assist you. Well, lined up on today's show, we are talking credit, right? Credit bureau, credit ombud. You've heard these terms being thrown around quite a lot. And perhaps you're asking yourself, what is the role of the credit ombud, right, in this whole entire situation? Well, please do engage us on our social media platforms. And the hashtag to use is MMOnSID. And joining me for this very interesting topic and conversation is Kabelo Dime. How are you, my sister?
Good in yourself, Joy, and hello to your viewers.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us a bit about who Kabelo Dime is and what do you do at the Credit Ombud?
Well, Kabelo Dime, simply put, is just a lady who has passion about consumer education. But my role is actually I'm a communications liaison officer at the Credit Ombud. So I am basically in charge of the consumer education, and that is to go and do initiatives. That is through workshops, through webinars even at the Credit Ombud, just to inform and educate consumers basically about all credit-related matters.
All credit-related matters, and that's why we are here as Money Matters. We want to make sure our viewers at home understand exactly what their consumer rights are. But thank you so much for making the time, actually, to be here with us today. Perhaps, maybe let's just start off by just unpacking on what the role of the Credit Ombud is.
The role of an ombud basically is, like for instance, with the Credit Ombud, I'm going to talk about specifically
the Credit Ombud,
yes, is to enforce fairness, right, in the credit bureau and credit market. And that is to say that if at all the consumer is disgruntled and they've got a complaint with either the credit bureau or the credit provider, that is a non-bank credit provider, then, and it doesn't get resolved with the credit provider, then they come to us as the last step basically to say that I've got this query, please assist me because I'm not getting the feedback that is satisfactory to my needs or to my situation, and then they come to us as the Credit Ombud. So basically, we are not for consumer, we are not for the credit provider, we are the middleman.
Basically. So you're there to assess whether there is a case.
Basically, the relationship you're in the credit industry. That's what I call it.
You're there to mediate.
Yes.
Yeah, there to mediate. And how does it relate? I mean, I suppose everything is governed by some law, right, in the country. Which law actually governs your space?
It is the National Credit Act. I mean, even with the cases that we do get, we actually are guided by the National Credit Act. Our core existence basically came from the fact that consumers would complain. We started off, the office started off in 2005. And
yeah, it's a young office.
It is a young office, hey, but the impact is great because the reason why we were then created was because they said, wait a minute, but if consumers are not happy with the outcome from the credit bureaus, where do they then go? And as much as they could take the complaints to the National Credit Regulator, the regulators they regulate the credit space. So they've got an influx of complaints. But with an ombud office, you know that at least there is then that guy within the credit industry that you can run to if at all you are not happy. And the process is that you give the credit bureau obviously the chance to investigate. But then when you're not happy, then you come to us. And it was in 2010 that we then widened our jurisdictions to say that we're not only going to deal with credit bureau matters, but also your non-bank credit agreement disputes. So if at all you've got an issue with your account, it could be that you feel that you are being overcharged with interest. It could be a fraud matter where you feel like, you know what, somebody took my ID, they opened an account fraudulently, and I've taken my matter to the credit provider, but they are still not assisting me. That's when you come to the Credit Ombud and we can assist.
And so, then you can assist instead of me going to the police station.
Hey, don't cause it out now. At the police station. Just come to us peacefully.
Just come to the Ombud. You've mentioned, where people aren't happy about how they've been dealt with by the various credit bureaus. What is a credit bureau? And perhaps if you can just help us, just high level, what the roles of credit bureaus are.
And that's I love that question, because then because we've been trying to get rid of this misconception when it comes to credit bureaus, and especially how the word blacklisting is used so loosely within consumers. And the role basically is to say that if at all you are a credit active consumer, you have a credit profile. So Joy has got a credit profile, Kabelo has got a credit profile. And that credit profile is so that prospective credit grantors can go and actually look at my credit profile to see what type of a consumer am I. Am I a good payer? Am I a bad payer? And that's why there's also a thing called a credit score. If you've got a high credit score, that means you're a good payer. You pay on time and as per your agreement with the credit provider. But then if you pay late, if you don't make regular payments, then it will show with your credit score. And we usually say to consumers, I know that with some consumers, they say, but I can't get my credit profile. I mean, where do I even go to get my credit profile? And some go to the extent of saying, I want to get my credit profile. I want to know exactly what my credit standing is. And they're going to apply for credit. Very bad.
Don't do that
to yourself. Just pull a report. Thank you. There's absolutely no need to actually do that. So that is why then we say to consumers, rather contact the credit bureaus, the various credit bureaus, because it's very important to also note that they do not share their database. No, they do not. Depending on where.
No, they're not putting the information from the same source.
What happens is the credit provider that gives the information to the credit bureau that they register to. So different credit providers may not necessarily register with all the credit bureaus. Now, mind you, we've got about 6 major credit bureaus. And I'm saying major. There are other ones, right? But those ones I don't even want to make mention of. But we've got 6 major credit bureaus. So as a credit provider, you then choose that, you know what? I think that with all my consumers, I will submit the information to these 2 credit bureaus. So if at all you've got one account, and you find that, because I had that experience as well, where I went to take to pull my credit report, and it had a low score, and it was because I had only one account reflecting on that specific credit profile. But then with the other credit bureaus, they had my other credit information, so my score was perfectly fine with those credit. So then you could be confused, because then you're like, should I go and get credit? Why should I not? But rather don't.
So the credit bureau, from what I'm hearing, it's effectively a tool that you can utilize, well managed by a company, I suppose, because it's a platform, and where you can actually access, some of these reports. Is this regulated from a National Credit Act perspective? So in other words, all credit providers ought to, it's a must that at least they must be registered with at least a credit bureau.
Definitely. It is something that really, it's like I'm saying, it's the way credit providers really communicate with each other without having to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
If at all I come to Joy and I'm like, Joy, you know what, give me a loan. You don't know me from a while. Like, you don't know me at all as Kabelo. And you're thinking, okay, do I trust this person? Do I not trust this person? You have nothing to go on, basically.
Yeah.
So with the credit bureaus, what they provide is that platform. Yes, is that platform for credit providers to say, I'm going to go and see whether I can trust this person based on how they behave within the credit industry and whether they pay their accounts, whether I can afford that, I can rather then grant this consumer credit. And that's why it's also important as consumers that we actually manage our accounts properly. I know that sometimes, especially with young people, they take out credit, probably while in varsity, and think, well, they understand
it. And that's a bad idea. Yeah, it's a bad idea. You don't want to take out credit when you don't understand.
Exactly.
When you don't understand credit itself. And now I suppose a lot of people, they take out credit only for them to be declined. What are some of those red flags that would have potentially popped out from your credit report that makes a financial institution or registered credit provider to say, actually, this person, no, we are not going there as they're too risky? Because I suppose, I mean, credit providers also have the responsibility not to recklessly lend, right? They do have that responsibility to make sure that they do, what do you call that? Diligence. Due diligence, and that it's actually, what's the opposite of reckless? That's the word I'm trying to look.
Responsible?
Responsible, that's precisely it. But that they're actually quite responsible in their credit lending. So what are some of those things that would definitely say to them, no, this, you can't go there?
When I go as a consumer and apply for credit, there's an affordability assessment that is done. And pulling a credit report is one of those things that they have to do, right? And when they look at my credit profile and they see that, okay, probably I've got I'm under debt counseling. That is like number one red flag already. Because this means if I go under debt counseling, it means that, but this consumer is not coping with their current affairs. So why would I want to grant them further credit if at all they cannot afford right now to pay their current debt? So as it is, when you're under debt counseling, don't even think to go and apply for credit.
Additional credit. Actually bad
for
management.
It is. I mean, imagine you are in rehab and then you kind of like have a lapse and then you go back again. It's like you're not getting anywhere. And right now, we've got a situation in South Africa where there are so many over-indebted consumers. When we've got about 26 million credit active consumers, right? And of those credit active consumers, we've got about 60 something who are in areas with their accounts. So we are not paying.
So it's actually, I mean, it's quite a huge percentage that we're talking about, and I think the reports from various financial institutions and surveys actually indicate that, we're quite a debt-heavy nation.
We are. No, honestly, we are. And that's why
it's nation.
With some other consumers then, when they find that they are in that state where they can't be granted credit, where do they go? To your credit providers, like Shonisa said.
And I don't shocks. Listen, I want to come back to that one because I really think that we need to talk about your role in that particular space, what the informal type of lending spaces and what are some of the provisions that can actually help a lot of our people, from that front. But maybe let's just take a short break. And I think to our viewers at home, we'll be back just after this. But please continue engaging with us on this very, very topic, because I do know that you are interested and you want to know a lot about what is it and what are some of the levers that are available out there for you as a protected consumer of credit. Please hashtag us on SID on our various social media platforms with the details that appear on your screen right now. We'll see you just after this. Welcome back, and you are still tuned into Money Matters, and we are talking credit, the role of credit ombud. And before the ad break, I was talking to Kabelo Dime as she was unpacking a bit on what the role of the credit ombud is and some of the work that they do there. Amazing work that you do, mediating, making sure that you level the playing field, making sure that every party is treated fairly. But before the break, we were already touching on the other informal sector of credit provision. And I'm quite curious, right? Because obviously, if you are going to be lending credit or lending money, there's a regulation, right, that you need to abide by. You need to be registered, right, as required by the Credit Act.
Yes.
Tell me, how is that space regulated, and what is your role in relation to that space?
Yeah. Well, as a credit ombud, really, we are the mediator between the consumer and the credit provider. Yeah. However, yes, you are correct in saying that as a credit provider, you need to be registered as per the National Credit Act. Now, we usually say that even when you are a Mashonisa, you can be registered, actually. You should. actually be registered. And this is for the protection. All of this is honestly so that everybody is
Protect other parties, right?
Yes, and to also, I mean, if at all you go to an unregistered credit provider, they can charge you whatever interest rate that they want, right?
Is there a cap? Sorry, I'm interjecting because I'm quite
right now because of the repo rate. I understand. Is there a cap? There is, but depending on what type of credit it is, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Because unsecured and the secured, girl, is a whole nother conversation.
Okay, sorry. Let me bring you back. Let me bring you back.
So
what
now,
we're talking
when it
about.
comes to being registered,
Yeah.
yes, all of those credit providers, including the credit bureaus, need to be registered with the National Credit Regulator.
Yeah.
Right? That is why initially I said that.
Including the bureaus.
Yes, including the bureaus. So the bureaus, they are there because everybody falls under the umbrella of the National Credit Act.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if at all you are going to take, you are going to store information, consumer information, then you need to be registered because there are guidelines as well as to how and what type of information exactly needs to be on the credit profile. I mean, if at all, they are not allowed to put like your religious views on your credit profile. They are not allowed to put down all your political views on your credit profile. So there are also guidelines. So as a registered credit bureau, you know exactly what type of information you're supposed to have. And then even when it comes to the credit bureau providers, is to say, guys, there needs to be fair play. Okay, if at all one credit provider says, I'm not going to be registered, that means they're not going to do things according to the guidelines.
Yeah. Okay. So let's play. I'm already in that situation. I've put myself in a situation where I've actually, gotten money from a, I mean, we know them as mashonisas, right? And then there's a dispute, right? Because of certain things that really happen in that space. Can I approach the credit ombud to assist me despite the fact that, the party I've engaged with is not registered?
Yeah. When it comes to that, it is difficult. And and because of that, consumers, we always advise consumers, if you are in that situation, rather go to the regulator. So go to the NCR. And I mean, even the NCR even has a, what do they call this? An anonymous tip of line. Yes, an anonymous tip of line where you can say, they've taken my ID, they've taken my SASSA card or any other information, or they're threatening me. And right now, I don't know what to do because it is illegal to do that. I can't say that all of a sudden, Joy, you're not paying me. So give me your bank card. And then I'm like, how are you going to survive, So if at all you are in that situation, I strongly advise, do contact the National Credit Regulator. If at all you feel that, I'm kind of scared that they might find out that it's me, there is that anonymous tip off line that you can actually then go for. I mean, all you need to do really is go online. I think a lot of people have got smartphones. Go online, go into the website, the NCR website, and you'll find all of those details.
Find all the information. I'm just worried. I'm sorry, not worried, but rather curious. I think that's the right term. About the turnaround times, though, of the credit, the regulator, right? And coming back to, say, situations like this where it could honestly be life-threatening. I suppose I could also go to the other authorities, being the police services.
You could definitely, you could definitely do that. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from doing that. And you find that, it works quicker for you, then rather do that. What we are trying to also say is that, yes, you can go to the police, but also report this unregistered credit provider to the NCR because they know what it is that they do. I mean, if you're unregistered or even if you are registered and you are not following the rules as you should, you can be reported. Yes, so that your license can then be revoked, and then so that if at all you want to go back into the credit space, you follow the right steps and the guidelines and all of that you need to do because it is for the protection of the consumers at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I'm thinking too, some of the contracts that we see and what we sign, right? There's a whole dispute resolution process that is listed down. Is it a must as a consumer, right? Because it'll start with some of the internal processes. You need to send, your complaint to this department and that before we can actually get to the ombud, right? Or the ombud's office. When I get to the ombud's office, would you guys ask me whether I followed that whole entire process? Or can I just say, actually, that process is going to waste my time? Can I just come straight to you?
In a perfect world,
no.
You can just say, yes, they're going to waste my time. No.
So we have to.
You have to. And we say this because imagine I am not happy with something that you did, Joy. And then I don't talk it out with you first. I run to somebody else and Joy did this and this. But then if we were to actually sit down and talk about it, we'd resolve it between the two of us. There's no need for the third party. But if only if at all we can see that, you know what, and that's why we always request for a reference number to show that you did actually try and resolve it with the credit provider or with the credit bureau. But in that process, though, the turnaround period is 20 working days.
Within the entire process.
Within the entire process. So if I come to you as a credit provider and say, it seems like I'm paying my account, but my balance is not decreasing, what's going on?
Yeah.
Let us look at the interest, let us look at the fees or anything else that is within this agreement. Then let's see what's happening. And you still do not come back to me, because we hear this a lot in our office, that consumers come to us and say, they've been pulling me from pillar to post. Where do I go? I'm frustrated right now. So usually consumers, when they come to our office, they're frustrated.
Right?
Yes.
Because you're like, okay, what's happening? Because I suppose the relationship now is a bit skewed. Whatever it is that I'm having with this provider is a bit messed up.
Exactly.
And so I come to your office for some mediation. We hear a lot about, we've spoken about some of the credit repair offerings that are available. Let's unpack, a bit about what are some of the things that I ought to look out for. And, I obviously need to engage those with a bit of caution. What is a credit repair offering, one? And, what do I need to look out for?
Well, usually the credit repairers, so to speak, for lack of a better word, they are usually the people who would assist you and say, okay, no, we can do this for you. So you don't even have to go through the process. And these days, we like the micro solutions, like somebody else to take the problem. I don't want to deal with it, so you deal with it.
Instant.
But you pay them for those services. Whereas with our office, the process is free, right? So even logging a complaint with our office and we dealing with the matter and investigating, all of that is for free. So you don't pay a cent. But with your credit repairers, they will say there is a fee that you need to pay for us to do all of this. And what is important, and what I always say, that sometimes, unfortunately, you don't know whether this person is registered or not. Can you trust them or can you not trust them? But a credit repairer, a fair one, would tell you that you can, number one, do this for free, right? You know that there is this process. And as much as people are thinking, that means that I'm losing out on money, why on earth would I tell people that? But for the same reason that they came to you is because they're too lazy to follow the process. Yeah. So if I don't want to follow the process, I'm going to come to you. So I'm aware that there is this process.
Yeah.
And they make you aware that there is this process. And also, it's very important to check the registration as well. You can check this either from the FSCA, if at all they're a financial advisor, you can check at the Ombud. There are different offices where you can check whether this specific person who's giving me this advice is registered. That way you know that if at all really they are giving me the wrong advice, you go to the FACE Ombud or you go to the FSC, the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. So I think that is the main thing that we need to take caution of as consumers, that if at all they tell you fairly that you can do this on your own, and if you choose to use our services, this is how much you are going. They need to tell you. Very important. You just exactly. It's just like when you enter into a credit agreement. If I sign on the dotted line, it means I understand and agree to everything that is written on that document. Yeah. So the same with the credit repair agents as well. They need to inform you exactly how much you're going to be paying for their services. Yeah. There shouldn't be any surprises.
So are these people that assist me maybe with debt consolidation, with, I suppose, being the agent to connect me to the Ombud, whatever the case may be. So it's just a middle person who can do anything that deals with repairing your credit.
Yes.
Okay, that's quite interesting as well. Can I then wake up one day and pull out my report and bam, I feel like, there are certain things that are reflected inappropriately, I suppose, on my reports. Can I query that, and where do I query that?
You can. Very importantly, as consumers, we need to understand that credit cannot just be wiped out.
Of course.
Can't just decide that, no, I've got this debt and can somebody just take it away? No, it's your responsibility. Because I always say that prevention is better than cure. Before you even go and apply for credit, you should have already planned. You should have already budgeted. And as crazy as it sounds, but remember that if I go and apply for credit, I'm responsible to pay their monthly installment. But if I find that I've done my budget, the monthly installment is a bit too much, I'm like, you know what, maybe I can actually pull through, or I can wait it out, or I can save money. But there are many other options. So I always say that credit should actually be your last option. Right?
Yeah.
But if you have to apply for credit, then apply for credit. You're responsible for it.
Yeah.
Now there is this listing on my credit profile. And what do I do? Or incorrect information, because I think I need to mention that if I've paid up an account, there are retention periods in terms of how long that account is meant to reflect on my credit profile. For instance, I pay off an account today, they give me my paid up letter, and they state on my credit profile that this account has been paid up in full and closed. That means that for 5 years, a maximum of 5 years, that account needs to reflect on my credit profile. For some consumers, like, but why would they do that? They are doing it for you as well. Because if today this account gets removed and I go and apply for credit somewhere else, they don't find any information on my credit profile. They say, but there's no information that we can go on to state whether you are responsible. Exactly. So if at all there is no information whatsoever, a history, that means that you have to start from scratch. And you can't keep starting from scratch. So for a maximum of 5 years, this account needs to be reflecting on your credit profile. If it exceeds the 5 years, that's when you then take it up with the credit bureau. And like I said, this process, absolutely for free. You go to the credit bureau where the information is reflected. And then you then request that they actually investigate so they can remove this information. If already, because the moment that you say, I'm done with this account, they need to provide you with the documents to say that you've paid up this account, you've closed this account. You can then send this information to the credit bureaus, and just like that, the information can be removed. But then again, if it's not removed, come to us, the credit ombudsman.
You come to the credit ombudsman to do what they do best, and that is to mediate. Thank you so much, Kabelo. I think, unfortunately, I had so many other questions to ask you, but unfortunately, we've run out of time. We've run out of time, but it has been such an absolute pleasure having you today and just educating us a bit more about being responsible consumers of credit and knowing exactly what our rights are as consumers of credit. May you continue being blessed. May God bless you as you continue the services that you do at the Credit Ombudsman. Thank you so much. And to our viewers at home, unfortunately, we have come to the end of this conversation and the end of our show today, but it was very nice to have you join us as we discuss this topic on the role of the Credit Ombudsman and why it's so important that you understand what your consumer rights are as a consumer of credit for that matter. And please continue engaging with us on our social media platforms, and the hashtag to use again is #MM on SID. But from me, Joy Maniti, and the rest of the Money Matters team, it is goodbye and God bless.